As Americans, you're entitled to know the truth our government has tried to suppress. In the next 50 minutes, we will shed new light and unravel the secrets that have been kept from us for all these years. Is it true that Harding's illegitimate child was conceived at the presidential desk in the Oval Office? Did President Kennedy really smoke dope in the White House? Did President Eisenhower and President Franklin Delano Roosevelt have mistresses? Did Thomas Jefferson have a concealed second family with his black slave? For the answer to these questions and many more, stay tuned for Presidential Scandals.
It is no easy task to be President of the United States. Americans have put their leaders on pedestals, demanding that they be paragons of virtue, with soundness of moral principles, honesty, truthfulness, trustworthiness, and faithfulness to their solemn vows of marriage. Much of the voting public has given attention to an incumbent's acts of adultery, because there are those who believe that a man who breaks his marriage vows will more than likely break his inaugural oath as well. A president in public life is like a big fish in a tiny fish bowl. There is no way of hiding from the eyes of the nation. George Washington, the father of our country, was beyond reproach. He was an honest man who governed our country with a great deal of integrity. He helped establish policies that are still being practiced
And he owned
today.
people, yeah.
He was happily married to Martha Washington. She provided him with great emotional as well as financial support, since she was considered the wealthiest widow in Virginia at the time of their marriage. George's problems came from another source, his mother. Mary Ball Washington lived long enough to see her son George elected as the first president of the United States. She did not attend his inauguration. The fact is, Mary Ball Washington seems not to really have cared for her son. His participation in the Revolutionary War had made her very angry. She felt strongly that George should have stayed at home, taking care of her in her old age. At considerable personal sacrifice, since George had cash flow problems and lots of land, he always provided for her financial needs. But it wasn't enough to make his mother happy. She complained to members of the Virginia legislature that she was in desperate need of funds and solicited the official aid of these gentlemen. Upon being told what she had done, George begged her to please stop. She was ruining his reputation. I am viewed as a delinquent, he wrote to her, and am considered perhaps by the world as an unjust and undutiful son. George made sure that for the remainder of her life, her needs would always be met. Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States, was truly a Renaissance man. He was an architect, botanist, diplomat, educator, inventor, lawyer, statesman, and violinist, just to name a few of his talents. Jefferson commanded a great deal of respect for his talents and wise political judgment. Thomas Jefferson lost his wife, Martha, when she was only 33 years of age. They had 5 children together, and he was devastated by her death. But there is a side to Thomas Jefferson that many individuals knew nothing about. Her name was Sally Hemings. She was Thomas Jefferson's mistress for 35 years.
No, it was Thomas Jefferson's
Sally was
slave,
mulatto.
the woman that
She
he
was
raped
beautiful with
for
long black hair.
decades.
She was also his slave and therefore his property, just as his horses
Mistress
and his
my
cattle were his
ass.
property. She and her children were counted and inventoried every year, just as his other possessions were. For a brief time during the election of 1802, her relationship with Jefferson was eagerly discussed in many newspapers. Legend had it that Martha Jefferson and Sally Hemings had the same father, and that they resembled each other. Sally was Mrs. Jefferson's nurse during her long illness. Sally was Martha's attendant at her deathbed. When Jefferson was sent to Paris to be a minister for negotiations with the French, he took Sally along to act as a nanny for his children. She was treated very well in Paris. She received regular wages, and Thomas dressed her in the height of French fashion, and they became lovers. A few months before they were to return to
fam. Welcome to Punks for Progress. I'm Reverend Aaron. This is the What the Fuck Report. We're listening to the Toasters from the Skankin' Around the World comp, the International Ska compilation. But this is Thrill Me Up by the Toasters. I've got a few things in the queue. There's a all the progressive sphere is all abuzz with Jimmy Dore's hot take about Medicare and AOC ain't good enough no more, and we gotta make the Democratic establishment prove they're against Medicare and all that bullshit. We're gonna get into that. And I unsubbed Jimmy Dore at least 2 years ago, and so I've got some real feelings about Dore. And we're gonna discuss that, and it's all relevant to the conversation industrial complex. And this is where I think my take on what's been going on with Dore and all this stuff recently will be a little different than takes you're hearing in other outlets and stuff. First of all, welcome MR Red, as always, comrade. I really appreciate you, comrade, that you so consistently support us and stuff, and you're just always really positive presence in the live chat and stuff, and I appreciate you, comrade. Got other things lined up. I've got another interview with Fred Hampton that I dug up. Some music videos, some right-wing nonsense, some skateboarding, some art, and of course, I've got records picked out. So, I really want to hear this whole song, you know? But, let's go over here. Anyway, here's the thing. It's the What the Fuck Report, and I'm stoked you're here. And we got a bunch of stuff lined up, and so yeah. Welcome to the What the Fuck Report, fam.
SOCOM to go seize all the files, all the databases, and he's to free Julian Assange.
So this is the head of the Oath Keepers in the build-up to the march on Saturday. Check out, listen carefully to what this fucking unhinged, violent, fascist piece of shit has to say.
And put him in charge of doing a data dump to display to all of you all the skeletons out of the closet into the streets. Show the world who the traitors are, and then use the Insurrection Act to drop the hammer on them. And all of us veterans who swore that oath, until you're age 65, you can be called up as the militia to support and defend the Constitution. He needs to know from you that you are with him, that if he does not do it now while he is commander-in-chief, we're going to have to do it ourselves later in a much more desperate, much more bloody war. Let's get it on now while he is still the commander-in-chief. Hooah!
Fuck off!
Uh-oh. God bless you.
Yeah, God bless you as you call for
real.
bloody death and war in the streets. God bless you, though, heretic motherfucker.
I'd like to dedicate this one to Punks for Progress. Punks for Progress. This is for our comrades of Punks for Progress.
Punks never anarchy. Fight for your liberty. We don't want your government. We don't need your services. I'm an anarchist. I'm an anarchist.
Punks for Progress on YouTube and Facebook. Thanks, brother.
That sounds right up my alley.
That was a good day when you hear a punk say the word righteous.
And up next is a video from Unicorn Riot. Anti-fascist crowd opposes far-right Minnesota governor's residence, December 5th, 2020. Again, courtesy of Unicorn Riot.
We took a trip on real creep tip, number
Why are they only facing us like we're a threat? Because the people over here with the shields were practicing how to push through crowds, and we had eyes on for it. That's what we're preparing
Oh,
for.
fuck off. Fuck, that's bullshit. Right, for years. For years. Years. That was a bullshit lie. Hey, SoCal Shan, welcome. Videos provided by Santa Cruz Skateboards. Thank you to Santa Cruz Skateboards.
Well, look at her go. She can't have her fun most anyway. Go on, Robert. Well, let's go.
Whiskey A Go-Go on the fabulous Sunset Strip. The song is called Hungry Wolf. All right, fam, so I have another record picked out here. Oh, shit. My bad. I thought the song was over. But this next record, I got to show you the record before I can put it on, because it's just dope as fuck. You got to see the vinyl before you can hear it. I promise it'll make your listening experience that much more pleasurable. Happened. Oh. All right. So I wanted to show you this before I put it on. This is Monster Truck Driver. And this is the Winner Takes All 12-inch picture disc. And as you see, it's Jesus and the devil thumb wrestling. That's right. Winner takes all, motherfucker. Here's the backside. This whole album is sick as fuck. But Monster Truck Driver is the first band that I released music on my old label on. I've played you some of it before. I've played you the Motor Breath Metallica cover on the split 7-inch I put out with this band, Monster Truck Driver, and my old band, Eversquelch. But here we go, Monster Truck Driver. And we'll get back over here to the skateboardingness.
Much today, god damn it, will I hate it when I'm living in yesterday. My fist clenched nearly every day. Stop motion, I'm falling again. Too many emails left to know, yeah. How did I have finally found my way home? And I got the blood and the guts to prove it. Do all I can and then I won't make me lose it. Property of
fam. So I've got this here Ben Dixon stuff queued up, right? Now, this video is super long, and there's, as you can see, it's 40 minutes. I am definitely not going... I listened to this whole thing, actually, yesterday. But I'm not going... Or day before yesterday? It's been out for a day or two. And we're not going to listen to the full 40 minutes. Really, roughly the first 5 or 6 minutes has all the relevant stuff that I want to address about Jimmy Dore, right? And so... What I will say about what we're not going to hear in this video, about the kind of overall gist of this video, is what I would say really in a lot of ways about the progressive narrative and the full progressive project in itself is that it's very effective and accurate in its description, but of course lacking in its prescription. I don't agree with Ben Dixon when he goes on to say, which we will not see in the video, but if you watch the whole thing, which I suggest watching the whole thing, but you'll see that he ultimately says that it's all about primarying establishment Democrats. And instead of Dore being focused on the things that he's about to cover, and we'll see in this, what we're about to hear Ben Dixon talk about now, rather than Dore focusing on those things, he should be focusing on primarying establishment Democrats and whatever, and making that his project. And that's just where I depart from progressives. That's okay that that's their goal, because their whole project is about working within the realms of bourgeois electoral politics. That's not what my project is about. Mine's about ending capitalism. Okay? Now, again, where I think... But that's not to disparage Ben Dixon in any way, because I've said before on stream that among that entire crop of progressives, whether it's everyone from Mr. T Experience, from the Young Turks, weird Freudian slip, I guess, from the Young Turks to Majority Report and, Jacobin and just all these butting up against socialist sort of outlets and sites. Ben Dixon, I think, is one of the most astute among them. And so I really appreciate him. That's why I'm going to use him as a sort of template with which to discuss Jimmy Dore today, because Ben Dixon is a badass. So if you haven't subbed his channel, you should, the Benjamin Dixon Show on YouTube. And you can find him as Ben Dixon or Benjamin Dixon on a number of other channels. And while I'm at it, I should probably plug that I really like his morning show that he does with Mundell and Marcus called Clickbaity Political Thirst Trap Morning Trap. Anyway, I've said enough about it. Let's go ahead and get over to... So it's just an audio thing, so there's not much to look at. Hey, FJM Radio and Happy Slave, welcome, comrades. So here we go. Let me go ahead and get into this, and I'll let Ben Dixon sort of set it up, and then we'll just sort of go from there.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army.
Today is Sunday, December 13th, 2020. Thanks so much for joining me. It's been a while since I've done just a straight-out podcast that's not attached to the live stream. So this is just me talking into the microphone, and I'm choosing to do this today instead of video because I want to just get all of my thoughts out without the burden of, I just want to get my thoughts out. We'll leave it there. I want to talk briefly because I have a whole lot of work to do, and we all do. I know you do. So I'm not going to use much of your time. But I do have to speak about the kerfuffle that's happening on Twitter. And on a scale of significance, I would rate what's happening on Twitter with the arguments that's going on around Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and the YouTuber Jimmy Dore suggesting that, or demanding that she forces a vote on Medicare for all in the House with Nancy Pelosi as Speaker, and with the knowledge that it will fail. And the purpose of it, the suggestion and the strategy, is that it will allow the people to get on record, Nancy Pelosi and all the Democrats' records, get on the record that they don't support Medicare for all. And the idea is that this is going to be toxic to them as candidates in 2022 because the majority of Americans support Medicare for all. And Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she weighed in on the conversation. And
let me just say real quick, like, the people don't need to be woken up to the fact that Nancy Pelosi and the establishment Democrats aren't on our team. That's not something we all need to be woken up to. So, like, great, you're gonna, put all your weight behind this idea to convince people of things that they basically already fundamentally understand. Brilliant, Jimmy Dore, brilliant. And if you don't jump on board, you suck and aren't serious, right? So if you don't get on his ineffectual thing to convince people of things they already know, then you suck somehow. And this is indicative of all the different fucking talking heads that I would fit under the definition of conversation industrial complex. But we'll get back to that. But we'll go ahead and get back to Ben, too. Here we go.
Why she wouldn't do it. One, because it is guaranteed to fail currently, right now, despite the fact it is, the real problem is that we have representation in Washington, D.C. that is not reflective of the will of the people. 70% of the Americans want Medicare for all. Shit, I want Medicare for all. Everybody wants, 70% of the people want Medicare for all. A lot of people don't. That 30% who don't have vested interest in not doing it, right? I think we all agree on those notes so far. The Democratic Party, people like Jim Clyburn are recipients of healthcare industry donations, and so therefore they are a protective barrier for the healthcare industry, for the insurance industry, just like they're a protective barrier for the police. We know these things, and we discuss it pretty regularly. I discuss it pretty regularly. You can go through my catalog, or you could talk to someone who actually listens to me, and they understand. Between all of the shows that we do, we absolutely call out the Democratic Party, and we'll continue to do so. Not because, though, here's why I'm talking this morning. We don't do it. I don't. I can't speak for anybody else who puts out content on my channel. But I do not attack the Democratic Party because it's cool or popular. I do not attack the Democratic Party. I mean, I attack conservatives because, one, they deserve to be attacked, and because it is cool, and it is, the popular thing to do to attack conservatives because they deserve to be attacked. It's always in style. It's always in vogue to attack Nazis. So we're cool on that. I think we all agree there, right? But I don't attack Democrats just because I think it gives me a nice little lane to cultivate a cottage industry and create a career that can sustain my lavish lifestyle. I don't personally have a lavish lifestyle, but I'm talking about Jimmy Dore very specifically. While I was fighting to make sure my lights were on, and still fighting every single day on my platform for Medicare for all. He was in the south of France.
Hello. Okay, look, I want to address a couple things here real quick. First, I like what you said here, FJ Moreto. Ben Dixon claims he's a socialist, but there are many things he says on the off that are not too, or on the cuff maybe, on the cuff that are not too coherent with socialism. And that's absolutely true. Now look, this is my primary fucking problem with progressives. I did a whole video called Progressive Equals Centrist Liberal, even if you think Marx is cool. That's what the video is called. And it really addresses this in depth. And I'll break it down as simply and quickly as I can. In terms of Overton window is how I'll explain it. So on the far right, you have a full-throated, by any means necessary, including violence, defense of the capitalist imperialist status quo. That's what right-wing in its purest form is. On the opposite end of that, on the opposite end of the spectrum is left wing, which is your anarchists and your socialists who are vehemently and fundamentally opposed to the capitalist imperialist status quo lauding power over the world and using their by any means, including violence, tactics to maintain the capitalist imperialist status quo. We want to end that. That's the project of anarchists and communists and socialists. The center of that is liberals, and that includes progressives, because their project is, okay, look, we can recognize, and liberals, now your establishment liberals in the DNC, they're not even liberals. They're full-on right-wingers. They are. They just have they have the name Democrat or whatever. But historically, liberalism really is about, okay, in many cases, they can clearly recognize that capital left to its own devices and left to just run free will result in monopoly and wealth and power being consolidated into fewer and fewer hands at the expense of more and more people whose labor is exploited to maintain the lifestyle of these fewer and fewer people. Okay? They can recognize that capitalism left to its own devices will do that, but their prescription, so their description, can be really solid. People like Ben Dixon meet this. A lot of the Young Turks people, a lot of the people, you know, like Jamie on Majority Report. Look, progressives in general and DSA people especially, can recognize capitalism's intrinsic proclivity for exploitation and violent oppression of those that it exploits. But their prescription, what they prescribe to do about it, is where it departs from socialism and becomes fundamentally liberal, which is, let's just put some restrictions on this capitalism. Right? That's what Medicare for All is. It's a compromise with capitalism. Like, okay, look, we'll let capitalism exist, but we want some of the wealthiest people to give up a share of their wealth, their taxes, because none now. We pay the taxes that fix everything, us poor people. The rich people pay nothing. So they're saying, okay, look, we're going to say it's okay for you to exist in this capitalist fucking stratified fucking reality. We're going to allow that to exist. But we just want a little bit. We want you to kick down a piece of what you got so we can have some health care too. Okay? And then people like, you know, Ben Burgess, who I rail against incessantly, people like him will come out and be like, you know, and because you haven't made something like Medicare the core of your fucking project, well, then you're doing a disservice to Medicare for All. And now what? You're going to fight. You're going to, because you're not jumping on board with us, nobody's going to get Medicare for All. So it's your fault, anarchist and communist, that you didn't jump on board this. Now nobody has Medicare for All. When we're over here going, nah, liberal, how about we do away with this fucking capitalist, imperialist fucking mechanisms that we have to fucking beg for scraps from. And then guess what? We'll all get some fucking universal health care at that point. Okay, so that's not to shit on Ben Dixon, because what Ben Dixon has in undeniable reality that a lot of the progressives don't have is he's a black man in America, and he knows exactly what it's like to be a black man in America, which significantly informs his version of progressive. Like, he knows far better than your average fucking brunch liberal what capitalism does, because let's make no mistake, America's version of capitalism was foundationally and fundamentally built on the slave trade. The wealth that was built on the slave trade is what made the industrialist of the industrial era possible. Their massive fortunes were built on the foundational wealth of the slave trade. The entire American economy is built on the backs of oppressing black people, like making the oppression and exploitation of black people a monetized thing. So he knows that reality. So his analysis is generally better. And he's able to spot the fucking grift of people like Dore really well too, right? So I think I kind of beleaguered that point well enough, I hope, fam. And we'll go back over here to what Ben Dixon got going on. And yeah, let's just get back to Ben.
And I don't do that to blow up his spot, because, you know, we all want nice things. And finally, I'm making a little money here. And sure, maybe when the pandemic is over, I'll fly my family over to Wakanda for a vacation. Sure, fine, I get it. But what I'm not going to do is do that and have that lifestyle based on sowing discord with frivolous ideas and strategies that are poorly thought out, that are actually destructive to our ends. Because right. I'm in this to win. That's the difference.
That is the difference.
I don't do this shit to, excuse me, guys, I'm sorry. That's why I'm going to get this out of the way and I'm going to move on. Because what am I doing with my days? attacking the squad? No, why?
Which is what Jimmy
Why
Dore
should
does
we attack the
incessantly.
squad? Why? I get the idea. I want to be sure.
And I want to say on that too, like, I see a lot of my revolutionary socialist comrades. I think not all, but I should say some, not a lot. I think are unfairly dismissive of someone like OAC or AOC. And look, of course, every comrade I know will have the back of someone like Ilhan Omar when she's attacked for her religion or accused of being anti-Semitic and all that fucking those garbage fascist, racist talking points about her. But if you're serious about wanting to make fundamental change, it's really easy to spot those that aren't. And it's really easy to find what the hot fucking button topic of the day is, click on the mic and just start saying sort of nothingness about it, just sort of talking about that topic because it's trending on Twitter or you know, political Twitter or whatever it is and that kind of stuff. So it's a hot button topic so we can turn it on. And then add on top of that where you're not offering anything, that's maybe a little more excusable because you're not overtly suggesting things to people. You're just kind of adding to the chatter. But then people like Burgess and Jimmy Dore go a step further, and what they do is they click the mic. They come up with ideas. Okay, I've said this before. They come up with ideas that don't fucking require anything of them other than saying, hey, I had an idea. And especially, and it involves more often than not a policy that we should suggest to politicians. Okay, so their work is done. They have the idea, right? And then they turn on the mic and then they say, okay, you know, don't forget to like and subscribe and donate to my Patreon. And then they tell you their idea that want all of us to get on board with. And then we're all expected to, you know, pressure a politician to then maybe go and make that a law that hopefully gets passed and whatever. And he doesn't see it through. Jimmy Dore or Ben Burgess or people who do this sort of policy suggestion thing. Kyle Klinsky's good at this garbage too. They don't see it beyond, I clicked on the mic, said donate to my Patreon, said like and share, and then shared my idea. And then that's it. They've done their part. Now, I should point out that Kyle Klinsky has done a little bit more. I mean, he helped found Justice Democrat, so he's gotten out the studio a little bit, but really for the most part, that's the shtick is, I had this idea, this is what I suggest. Don't I sound smart? I sound really fucking smart. This is a great idea. And now Jimmy Dore is like the broken fucking half-ass version of that because he doesn't have a good idea because he doesn't come from a foundation of a strong foundational ideological base. So he's just spitting in the wind, and he's this guy who really thinks that like he constantly thinks he's doing this 3D chess thing where, you know, we have to make this move that'll show everybody this thing, and then what'll happen is in the next election everyone will do this thing. And his biggest version of that was totally, not only did everyone go, yeah, I don't think that's what's going to happen, it's not what happened. He butted up against, like, he didn't go so far as to say support Trump, but he was like, hey, check it out, it's going to be okay because we're going to get a real hardcore leftist, revolutionary, progressive, whatever, in response in, you know, 2020. And we didn't. We didn't have a fucking blue wave in 2018. The Democrats maintained their majority in the House. That's all they did. And then in 2020 we got a deeply racist fucking hardcore pro-capitalist piece of shit. We're not even remotely close to getting any type of concessions from the bourgeois political processes for any type of truly revolutionary leftist goals, or even just progressive goals of like Medicare for all and Green New Deal and all that kind of stuff. But he, so he was wrong. And that's the root of what Jimmy Dore's getting at now. And it just doesn't fucking matter. And like that, it doesn't matter that it doesn't actually accomplish anything because he already got the clicks, fam. He already got the donations to the Patreon and the memberships to the website and whatever. And people bought the shirt. He's already said it. They already watched the videos. I'm fucking talking about it now, which will probably generate traffic for him, which will make him more money. Doesn't matter if he was right or wrong. And this is the grift of the conversation industrial complex. Your position doesn't have to be valid. It doesn't have to be demonstrable. Right? Jimmy Dore's dog shit. Fuck Jimmy Dore, man. Like, and let me say this too, like, he's who anchored me into first watching Young Turks. I liked Jimmy Dore most at first. He was the dude who was like, I like this dude. Like, he seemed to know what he was talking about when it came to cops. That's probably what was most impressive to me because he's from family of cops and he knows how fucking corrupt and evil they are firsthand. And I always appreciate someone who has that sort of, they're not slick, they kind of fumble their words and stuff, and because it doesn't feel polished and practiced. It seems a little more real. And I think Jimmy is real. But he just doesn't know anything, and now he's just grifting. At this point, I think Jimmy Dore is just straight grifting. And I put him in the same fucking category as shitbirds like fucking Peter Coffin and Ben Burgess. Because it's all about, they click this mic on to make money. And that's what's first and foremost. And none of these people take correction well at all. One of the reasons I so repeatedly come back to Ben Burgess is because I corrected him on a take on Chomsky once, and he told me I had half a brain and a bunch of other like hardcore personal insults, and then blocked me. And then made videos crying about fucking cancel culture. And so the reason I bring that up isn't because, oh man, I'm butthurt. I mean, I am. No bullshit. But like, I'm pointing out the fucking deep hypocrisy of it. That like, this motherfucker talks about he's got an argument for the left, but when a leftist came and brought him a cogent argument, he blocked them and insulted my intelligence. And so the reason that that's important is because when they get to this place where they're going to espouse a bullshit take like Jimmy Dore did on his, we have to fucking push a vote that's not going to happen so we can expose the Democratic establishment for being against Medicare for all. God. It just doesn't, I kind of lost my train of thought because it's so ridiculous. Once they've espoused this idea that has no merit, and we come and we go, hey, look, especially if you're coming from an anarchist or a communist position, and we go, hey, man, progressive, liberal, here's why your take right now is wrong, and here's why actually maybe it looks good in the beginning, but in the long run will actually end up bolstering the thing we're fighting against. When we bring that type of argument, they're going to attack us personally. That's when they'll say things like, oh, see, tankies. Oh, you tankies, you're saying this, and you blah, blah, blah. And then what they end up doing is going, here's why anarchists and communists are wrong. And then they end up disparaging real socialists. And the masses of people out there don't have a very good education on what socialism is, and they rely on people, these progressives and stuff, to sort of teach them what socialism is. And when Ben Burgess or Jimmy Dore comes out and starts criticizing communists or anarchists who are critical of their bullshit hot takes, they're teaching people an completely inaccurate version of what socialism is. They're not socialist. And here's the thing, period. This is followed by a period. If they're not pushing regularly for an end to capitalism, if you don't hear them regularly talking about this is how we go about ending capitalism, they're not socialists. They're not socialists, man. They might be able to employ a socialist critique of capitalism, but that doesn't mean that they're a socialist. And so it's all degrees, fam. And what I really care about, see, I don't need progressives to be socialists. Okay? I care about the honesty of the individual I'm listening to. I care about whether or not they're grifting or not. And if I understand from out the gate that they're not what I understand socialism to be, as long as they're honest, then I can maybe be a little forgiving of their less than revolutionary takes on things. I can put in perspective. Oh, okay. They're coming from this make compromises with capitalism perspective. And so I'll just try to do my best to understand that that's the position they're coming from. But when you come out and you make a big, bold statement and your whole project is built on how you're a socialist and you're a hardcore leftist and I'm all about fucking espousing the ideas of the revolutionary leftist project, and then you spew a bunch of centrist liberal bullshit, I take issue with it. And again, it's not just because I'm a purist and you got it wrong. It's because you have a big, giant platform where you're misinforming people about what the socialist project is. And what you also do is you placate people. And this is why the capitalists love shit fucking bags like Ben Burgess and Jimmy Dore and stuff. Because it kicks the legs out of our revolutionary fervor. If you buy into Jimmy Dore's model, and this is what Ben Dixon was getting at while I went off, is I don't got time for that shit. You want me to put in all this effort to make a vote in Congress that won't happen, that's supposed to what? Make everyone see that Nancy Pelosi is a corrupt fucking capitalist piece of shit? Most people know that. And then what? They're going to revolt? They already know it, and we're not having a revolution against capitalism. And so pushing a vote that doesn't happen, this is a grift, fam. This is a grift. And I think Jimmy Dore probably started out as an honest cat, but now he's just fucking clicking the mic on. And those two, I can't remember their names, but the redhead dude and the woman that sit in his studio and go, oh, that's right, Jimmy. Oh, that's right, Jimmy. Placone and what, the angry liberal or whatever. I can't remember her name. Fuck them too, man. Never once did they go, yeah, Jimmy, I know for a fact you actually didn't research this, whatever. That was the original thing that fucking brought me down on Jimmy, was it became really obvious that he didn't even take 3 seconds to research the shit he was talking about. More often than not, because I used to watch him all the time. I used to watch the Jimmy Dore show all the you hear that little fucking bling jingle in my head in my sleep. I watched Jimmy Dore so much. But it became really abundantly clear that he hadn't even read the fucking articles that he was doing his full video on. And I would watch him read it, and it was clear he didn't know what he was reading, and he would take shit out of context because he hadn't read it. And it was like, oh, this motherfucker can't be bothered to actually present news. He just he's funny, and he found an audience, and now he doesn't have to do stand-up. He can sit in the studio and click on a mic and fucking see what the headlines are and come up with ideas and click on his mic and go, don't forget to like and share and donate to my Patreon, sub, and buy my coffee mug and my t-shirt and shit. And yeah. And now if you don't buy into his shit, and if AOC doesn't go out and do what this motherfucker fucking clicked on his mic to demand of her, somehow she's to be in question. I'm not going to go out of my way to be all about what AOC's all about, because she's about that progressive project. She's about making those fundamental compromises. I like the compromises she wants to make on capitalism. It will make life easier for a lot of people, right? But here's the thing. You can make suggestions and get on your mic. If you have an idea and you have a platform, get on the thing and make the suggestions about your ideas. But when leftists come back at you and be like, here's why I think it may not work. Did you consider this? Did you consider that? You got to fucking listen to that shit. Over the years, we get trolled so hard by the right. It's almost every single day. For a long time, it was every single day, and multiple fucking shit, comments and shit every day of hardcore nasty shit. And I very seriously considered turning off all the comments and shit on her channel. But reason I didn't, it's because some fucking righteous leftist that's got a lot of experience and has done the study and done the homework and the research and read and been out on the street and has the fucking lived experience might come along and go, hey, Reverend Aaron, I heard you take on this, and here's why I think, did you think about it like this? For those comments is why they're still on, because I need that. We need to keep each other in check. But here's the thing, and I'll wrap it up with this and we'll put some music on and stuff. The reason they fundamentally just can't allow for that type of critique is because they're the experts. They already know. We turn on Jimmy Dore or Ben Burgess or Kyle Klinsky or maybe even Punks for Progress, right? To try and learn something from them. Now, I hope you guys don't think I'm an expert. I've read a lot and I feel really confident to talk about a couple of things, one of them being punk rock and one of them being anarchism and socialism. These are the things I kind of know a lot about. So I feel confident talking about them, but I'm not a fucking expert. And what I hope to do more often than anything is inspire people to go and, study and learn for themselves, right? To be their own expert. But when we turn on Ben Burgess or when people turn on Kyle Klinsky or Jimmy Dore, they're hoping to get a voice that they can go, okay, look, all the other bullshit aside, at least I can trust this dude, and maybe I'm not so sure about the specifics of this topic, but at least I can click this on and I can trust that this is right. There's so much power behind that. And I think people like Jimmy Dore, Ben Burgess, Peter Coffin, Kyle Klinsky abuse it. They abuse it. And they live really far up their own asses. Because they got it figured out, and, how dare you question it? Because they're the expert. They thought it through. Even AOC needs to step up and realize that Jimmy Dore thought it through, right? Anyway. Got this here Fishbone record queued up. The song's called When Problems Arise. And I don't know why this is not... Let's do this. My skateboard video disconnected, fam. So give me a quick second and I'll get it queued up here. Do it over here. song's called All Kinds of Girls by The Real Kids. Whoa, sorry, fam. Start it over like that. There we go. I bumped it with the cover. That's the Stones. Off Tattoo You. This song is called Waiting for a Friend. Once again, the very first Bangles EP on IRS Records. This song's called Mary Street.
Waiting for the moment to come. Oh, oh, Mary.
what I'm queuing up next is actually a Breitbart video with Dennis Prager. It's called Dennis Prager Explains Battle Between Leftism and Judeo-Christian Tradition. And I'm pretty sure it's from the FASH rally in D.C. this weekend. But I have not watched it. And I'm just going to say I feel supremely confident that everything he's going to say is a bald-faced fucking lie, and that I have the intellectual and wherewithal and knowledge with which to debunk it. So that's what I got queued up, fam. So this is Dennis Prager explains battle between leftism and Judeo-Christian tradition. It's 3 minutes and 16 seconds. How funny is that? You know, because like John 3:16 and whatever. Anyway, here we go. Let's make a mockery of this fucking lying piece of shit.
Hello, everybody. It's an honor to be with you. I wish I were with you in person. The battle in America looks political, but it is fundamentally religious.
No, it isn't.
It is leftism versus Judeo-Christian values.
And that's bullshit. And for starters, being a leftist is not in any way whatsoever at odds with the core teachings of Jesus. If you take the Beatitudes and the Sermon on the Mount, the advocation for looking out for the poor, for the stranger, for the prisoner, for the downtrodden, for the oppressed, leftism is not in any way at odds. Now, a lot of leftists don't buy into this whole, I'm going to, accept Jesus as my Lord and Savior or devote their whole lives to a religion. But he's already off to a bullshit premise. Here we go.
Leftism, not liberalism. Most traditional liberals were either
okay, and I got to stop him again. He's conflating leftism with liberalism. The two are very different. I just got done explaining the Overton window on that, right? There is liberals and leftists are not only not the same thing, they're not even remotely close to the same thing. Let me kind of hit this a little harder. Liberals have far more in common with the right wing than they do with us leftists. Both liberals and the right wing want capitalism to exist. That fucking notion alone puts them fundamentally, both of them, at odds with our project of leftism. Someone like Dennis Prager knows the difference between a liberal and a leftist. He knows. And he's fucking lying. I would venture to say he knows everything he's about to say about Jesus is a lie. And about, well, not necessarily Jesus, but Judeo-Christian tradition is a fucking lie. He's espousing a Church of the Creator notion of fucking Christianity, which is the Aryan Nations notion. The I can't think of the fucker's name that kind of came up with this, but it's basically Nazi Christian, right? That's what the evangelical community, they don't know it. The entire evangelical community is not aware that they have been hoodwinked and converted into buying into this Church of the Creator bullshit. They just don't come right out and say it's Church of the Creator. It's not. They don't come out and Zeke Heil like Aryan Nations people did, like Alan Butler and, his compound where they pushed this. It was like a Jesus has our back on the white man thing. This is the John Birch Society version of Christianity. This is what fueled the Klan, that version of Christianity, which is deeply and fundamentally at odds with whether you agree with Jesus, whether you believe he existed or not. The core of his teaching is fundamentally at odds with what this piece of shit espouses. But he hasn't even gotten into it, and I'm fucking ripping him one. Let's go back to it.
Christians or Jews, or at least honored the religious foundations of America. But leftism, from the French Revolution to Karl Marx to communism, has always hated religion.
Yes.
Because it knows only one institution can keep it from its totalitarian goals.
That's absolute bullshit. The reason that leftists are fundamentally opposed to organized religion is because, as Mark said, it's the opiate of the masses. It placates people. It makes them subservient and it encourages them not to question the status quo. Religion placates people. Now, whether you believe in God or whether you believe in Jesus, or if you have religious or spiritual notions, leftists are not against this idea. I have deeply held spiritual beliefs and ideas. I don't get on Punks for Progress and talk about them a lot because that's my personal shit, yo. But it is definitely, I am a deeply spiritual person. And not all leftists are, and that's okay. What they don't want is someone coming out and saying, look, man, I have this thing that I can't prove, that's not demonstrable, that's not verifiable, that I need a whole bunch of people to buy into. And more often than not, it ends up being beholden to whatever the prevailing power structure is, whatever the status quo power structure is of the moment. You know, the Catholic Church was very supportive of Hitler and, of course, of Mussolini. That doesn't mean that because we would be opposed to the Catholic Church's support of Hitler or Mussolini that we're against people being religious. Go be religious. We are against religious institutions having any type of power in society. And again, I would assert that Dennis Prager knows that. He's knowingly espousing an inaccurate version of what Christianity is and of what leftism is.
And that is religious Jews, religious Christians, and specifically Christianity. Let me share with you a biblical insight that explains our times. In the opening chapter of Genesis, the word bara, created, is used only 3 times to describe God's creating the world, the animals, and the human being. So what did God do the rest of the time? The answer lies in the 2nd verse of the Bible, and the earth was chaos. The natural state of the world is chaos. So what did God do during the 6 days of creation? He made order out of chaos. What does this have to do with the left?
Really?
The aim of the left is a reversion to a world without God, which means a world of chaos.
Bullshit. Bullshit. Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. What we have right now is essentially chaos. There's people starving and dying all over the place. We have wars. We're shooting each other. Nation against nation. Human against human. People eating out of dumpsters. 5 feet away from a person eating a fucking $3,000 dinner plate. This is chaos. We have chaos right fucking now. Socialists have a scientific, methodical way with which to bring out a semblance of order that doesn't oppress others and elevate a minority to fucking global fucking ruling class status. It's such fear-mongering bullshit, and the people that listen to him believe this shit. And this is why, and what they have to see, this is what they have to do. The reason that they have to fear-monger so hard on leftism, on real socialism, communism, and anarchism is because we can do a clear-eyed material analysis of the conditions we're all living under currently, right now, in this capitalist status quo. we can find the flaws in it and explain why they're flaws in proper detail. Progressives can do this because they utilize a Marxist analysis or a socialist analysis of capitalism. Their prescription is bullshit, but their description is often really good. But he has to demonize that and make anyone on the right wing afraid of it, to even so afraid of it that they wouldn't even entertain the notion of going out and maybe reading the 60-page Communist Manifesto. Fuck no, because a lot of them think if they read it, they'll become brainwashed and bad people and evil and the devil will get in. That's another regular thing. To attach it with this religious thing is, okay, so it's Satan. So Marxism is Satan. Don't forget, Marx was a Jew, so it becomes really easy for them to attach Jews to Satan and chaos. Because, the Bible in the second day was chaos. What a bullshit fucking thing to bring up at a political rally about fucking overturning an election and about voter fraud. He's out here talking about leftists want chaos because Genesis. And the people listening to him, though, this is why I don't laugh and why I get serious about this shit, is they believe it. And they internalize that and they go, wow, man, I'm righteous with God because I'm against the liberals that hate religion and want chaos. And we're going, no, there's a much better way to organize society that's a lot more fair. And the reason we haven't been able to do it is because wealthy fucking capitalists have, since the inception of the socialist project, made sure they put all of their wealth and power behind destroying any efforts we might put forth to, establish our project. This world is in chaos. And I don't know, I always say it's like 2,000-3,000. It's probably more like about 1 million, or let's say 3 million people. Remember, there's 7.5 billion people on the planet. And I'm going to say about 3 million of them are knowingly in charge of shit. And they're the capitalist elite. They have a semblance of stability. The rest of us do not. All right, we can get back to this dipshit motherfucker that I can't stand.
Think about it. Forcing people to say men give birth is chaos.
What? Forcing people to say men give birth? This is the first time I've even heard this phrase, men give birth. Clearly, it's some type of fucking gross, deeply disconnected from reality attempt at casting aspersions on trans people. Clearly, it's some type of really twisted transphobic statement, but forcing people to say men give birth. Never heard that. Never heard that. Some of my very closest friends are trans. And I've never heard them say anything like that. And I know for a fact no trans person wants to force people to say anything. They would like people to gender them correctly and call them by their right pronouns. I would like people to call me by what I want to be called by. And I'll say this really quick on the pronouns thing. Skip it. He's just a fucking scumbag, transphobe motherfucker. And that's what that was, forcing men to, whatever. People say, okay. I've never heard anyone say that. That was the first time I've ever heard anything like that. So this notion that we're trying to make people do this thing that nobody's ever heard of, fuck off.
Having drag queen story hour for 5-year-olds.
Fuck yeah.
Is chaos.
Fuck yeah. Oh, that's chaos.
Not prosecuting criminals who steal under $900 worth of items, and not prosecuting people who trespass on private property or resist arrest is chaos.
Okay, so that's some weird anecdotal, out of context, one-off thing that two things that are not related to each other, and then making a comparison between the two, and then acting like that's somehow indicative of a broader phenomenon in culture and society, when it's not. And I'm sure, even though he's not specific, trust me, the people listening to him, those were two dog whistles. They know exactly the two things he was comparing against each other. And one of them was somehow a liberal that gets away with something and somehow a right-winger that's being persecuted. And I'll guarantee you, if you deconstructed either one of those, you'd find out that the liberal that got away with something, it wasn't that, in fact, that would be a misframing of it. I can't prove it because I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. I'm just saying this is my experience when they frame these type of comparisons against each other. This is usually the framing is, the liberal is the evil one, but the facts behind that back that assertion are dubious at best. And then the notion that the right winger was somehow a victim of something, the facts behind that will be dubious at best. And then they take these two dubious notions and compare them against each other. And then take that comparison and go, see, that's society, it's chaos. He hasn't said anything yet that's anywhere rooted in any type of verifiable reality. But it is a string of talking points that conflates religious ignorance with anger and fear of things that people don't understand, and then telling them that it's okay to be ignorant and fearful of that. In fact, that makes you in line with God, and the thing that you fear it because it's evil. It's not because you don't understand it. It's not because you haven't at any time in your life taken the time to try and understand it. It's just evil and stay away from it. It's chaos. Because this one time this liberal did a thing and this one time a conservative did things, and that's not fair. So that's how society is because of that comparison. So it's all chaos. That's fucking dude.
Defunding police as more and more Americans are shot, stabbed, and murdered.
That's bullshit.
It's chaos. Having to walk around human fecal.
Okay, so check it out. Defunding the police. First of all, cops do not prevent crime. They respond after a crime has been committed. When they patrol neighborhoods, they go and rouse people and fucking harass them, and sometimes they'll find things like drugs on them, and then they go, oh, look, we prevented crime. Who knows, maybe the dude's got 3 grams of fucking blow on him. Now they got him for possession for sales. Oh, wow, they prevented crime. But it was actually his 3 fucking grams to get him through the next 3 days or whatever it was. And I digress. But it's this, what did he say? Let me get that back again.
Walk around human fecal matter. And
what?
It's chaos. Having to walk around human fecal matter.
Oh, I see. Okay. So, having to walk around. So, police do not prevent crime. Okay? They respond once a crime has been committed. This thing, they've been saying this since the George Floyd uprisings, that crime is escalating. And I haven't ever seen them cite a specific study. I haven't seen a chart or a graph even. And if it was just a chart or graph, that wouldn't be enough. I want to see specific studies that cite that there's this massive escalation in violent crime, because I'm not buying it. And I've never seen any one of these motherfuckers present any type of study to back this, but they're saying it, and all the right wing is buying into it. Like, because a bunch of fucking leftists started talking about giving, defunding the police budgets and using those funds to allocated towards like mental health resources and preventative actual programs and stuff, that somehow us saying that stuff caused an escalation in crime. More people are being stabbed and shot because we just said the words defund the police. Fucking bullshit. Fucking fear-mongering bullshit. That actually facilitates the status quo of chaos. Because all these motherfuckers that marched this weekend in DC are convinced they're the ones fighting the chaos that Prager is warning us about. They're convinced they're in the street doing their heroic God duty against the chaos, when in fact it's them creating it and bringing it and fomenting it.
And use needles on downtown sidewalks is chaos.
Okay, and so you talk about walking through feces and needles on downtown sidewalks. Okay, let's legalize every goddamn drug. Okay, let's give people the resources. Let's do needle exchanges and proper testing. Let's give people the education they need for proper recovery. Let's give them the education they need. If they don't want to recover, to engage in proper, safe fucking use of their medicine, man. But instead, they got nowhere to do it. They've lost everything, and they've been criminalized because of their drug use, so they're homeless. So now, where do they got to shit? They have to shit on the street, Dennis Prager, you fucking asshole. Where else are they gonna shit, motherfucker? Huh? Where else are they gonna fucking use their dope? Fucking their bones hurt, man. What the fuck? Who cares if they're fucking high on dope? If they have a steady supply of it and it's clean, and they got clean needles, and regular fucking, these people will. The only time a fucking dope fiend robs your ass is because he's out of money and needs dope. If he's got fucking good dope, he's at home high as fuck, he ain't gonna rob you. And the only reason they're on the fucking street is because we criminalized them for being addicted, because they're unhealthy. I'm not here necessarily advocating for drug use. I just don't have a problem with people using it. If they want to, fucking go ahead, because you know what? I'm an anarchist that doesn't try to control other people's lives, man. This is the quintessential fascist point, is everything's fucked up and scary and bad, and you got to just put all your trust in us and we'll fix it. And their remedy is to beat the shit out of anything they disagree with and smash it and oppress it and kill him, even if it means like 6 million numbers and stuff. This is a fundamentally fucking fascist notion that everything in the world is the Marxist's fault or some powerless minority's fault. And you need to give all unquestioned power to us so that we can stop the chaos that's coming for you. Oh, and by the way, they hate God. They hate God. They're that evil. They eat babies. This motherfucker.
National Public Radio just featured the author of a book titled In Defense of Looting. In Defense of Looting.
Okay. What is every goddamn museum in Europe if not a fucking proud display of looting? Look what we stole from every single country around the world. Masterpieces. That's fucking looting. You know, a landlord? Maybe that's not necessarily a great looting analogy, but like, it's systemic. Robs me of my fucking money every fucking month while he sits on his ass. I don't know the article that NPR pushed. NPR is some liberal ass bullshit. I don't listen to NPR. But I'm going to say that I'm not going to advocate for you go out and loot, because you're going to get in trouble most likely. And then you're going to have a bunch of fines and time that's going to cost you a lot of money. And if you're in a position to have to loot to get stuff, you're poor. You can't afford all the fines and the court fees and all the stuff that's going to be handed on you if you go and loot. But fuck Walmart, man. Why do they get to hoard all the resources of the world and then put a price on it for the rest of us? They have looted the resources of the planet and then are separating the masses of the planet from those resources by putting a fucking price on it. And what the price does is solidifies the class distinctions.
That is chaos. Jews and Christians, conservatives and liberals build. The left only destroys.
Right.
It destroys everything it touches. Art, music, journalism.
Art, music,
science,
and journalism and science.
Colleges, high schools, elementary schools.
Oh. Okay, so when I'm painting and when I'm writing songs and when I'm, I'm destroying it, I'm destroying art. I mean, maybe I'm not a good artist. You could say my art is shit, but I'm creating art, not fucking destroying it, you asshole. Which one of you motherfucks paints? Let me hear your band, homie. Where's your band, Dennis Prager? What song did you ever write, motherfucker? Come at me about the arts, motherfucker. Fuck you. Chaos. You motherfuckers are the ones that are first and foremost to cut budgets for the arts, that remove fucking art programs from fucking schools. It's the right wing that constantly calls for that. And everyone on the left knows damn good and well one of our greatest and most fucking consistent fucking tools for dealing with the oppression that the right wing brings is our art. And that's why the greatest art in the world has always come from the fucking left, man.
Late night comedy, football, basketball, baseball, marriage and family, Lincoln, Washington, everything.
Everything, fam.
And now, America itself. You're gathered here to save America, the last best hope
right,
of
because you see, America is football, and it's Lincoln, and it's Washington, and it's all these vague notions of things. It's not. America is what's inscribed in the Constitution. And inscribed in there was the ability to own other people. The people who framed that fucking Constitution said rich white landowners are the ones who can fucking be a part of this Congress. America was founded as a white supremacist state. It allowed other races to live here for the purpose of being subjugated and forced into labor. And if they couldn't force them into labor, they pulled genocides on them like they did with the indigenous people here. And it's not that we're saying that, like, enjoying a football game is bad and going to church on Sunday is bad. But if those institutions fundamentally uphold this oppressive white supremacist thing, then maybe we need to question those institutions. I don't got a problem. I like playing sports. I played sports all growing up. I played in Pop Warner, and I played in Little League, and I fucking played basketball and shit. Like, I totally enjoy team sports. Even as an adult, I've been on, like, softball teams and shit, like, with places I've worked, like that kind of shit, right? And I had a blast. But if my participation in that sports also involves like the Blue Angels and, you know, Marine Corps fucking people marching out on the field and showing American flags and asking people to fucking, you know, in order to recruit young people into joining the military. Well, then football just became a fucking mechanism of support for white supremacy. So fuck football. But it's not fuck football. It's fuck that league. Fuck that corporation that exploits the athletic labor of the athletes for them to get rich. And then ultimately, again, of course football is going to do what it can. The NFL is going to do what it can to support the white supremacist power structure, because fascism is the strong-arm defense mechanism of the capitalist imperialist status quo in crisis. The team owners, if they want to maintain their power and wealth and their ability to laud power over others, they need to maintain the white supremacist power structure inscribed in the Constitution and fundamentally a core part of what the United States was built on. He's only got a little bit. We're almost done with this, and I'll play some music and we'll look at some art.
Because you know, as I know, it can't be done without the Bible and without the God of the Bible.
Yeah, it can't be done without the Bible and the God of the Bible and stuff, fam. Because why does it keep doing that? This damn thing. I have it casted over to the other side over there, and it's not, and it keeps dropping. And I was so caught up paying attention to what that fucking dickhead was saying, I didn't pick out a record. So why not play a Total Massacre album? Because it's just a good go-to, right? God, there's so many good songs. I think I'll just go with Thoughts and Prayers. Maybe we'll play 2 songs, fam. Shit, maybe even 3. Who the fuck knows? There it is.
Thinking about the GOP, praying someday never meet something more like I don't know, some fucking policy. Lots of prayers, lots of prayers, lots of prayers. Don't need shit, 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 don't need shit. Stupid fucks. Thinking about the NRA, praying that they come today, but all you evil motherfuckers get what you deserve. There's lots of prayers, there's lots of prayers, there's lots of prayers. Don't need shit, 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 don't need shit. Evil fucks. You're mind control, you're mind control, you're mind control, you're mind control is all they say. Something negativity, something negativity, something negativity. Singing the hypocrisy. Drink it, the nightmare. Drink it, the nightmare. Something out of democracy, something out of democracy, something out of democracy. All the guns is fucking great. Drink it, the nightmare. Drink it, the nightmare. Something negativity, something negativity, something negativity. Singing the hypocrisy.
One more song.
This country's a fucking dumpster! What are they for? What are they for? I'm not talking about the class war! That shit is over! In case you didn't notice, they beat the hell out of us! Wish we could say we put up a good fight! Said they'd be greeted as liberators and they were right! Now we got freedom, the freedom to starve! Jobs to work till we die! Holiday if you're rich! Justice for a price! All of this and more! Does it feel lucky? But all the comforts of all with the benefits of a kleptocracy! Just ignore that nagging feeling! We can't remember where we've been! With no idea where we're going! Freedom if you can afford it! Jobs that don't pay a thing! Equality if you're white! Justice if you're lucky! I know it's only been one long fucking year, but are you tired of winning yet? Hey, 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 hey! A million years of evolution and we get a screaming orange idiot! Freedom! Starve! Jobs to work till we die! Quality if you're rich! Justice for a price! Freedom if you can afford it! Jobs that don't pay a thing! Quality if you're white! Justice if you're lucky!
Youth of today. This song's called Expectations. And I wanted to look at art.
Oh,
the Phantom Limbs. And again, I'm not sure if I have it on the right speed. This song's called Active Verbs. Yeah, this is from, they're on Alternative Tentacles. My old band Scurvy Bastards, I got to play with these guys a couple times. Really love Phantom Limbs. So this is my old band, fam. This is Scurvy Bastards. This song is called Polaris. The album is called Battle Born. And there's me right there. Slovenly Records.
Slumber water till the spheres 620,000 years have revolved, and I return to the place where now I burn. Other stars and none shall rise to the axis of the skies. Stars that soothe and stars that bless with the sweet forgetfulness. Only when my round is o'er shall the past disturb thy door. slumber watcher till the spears 6,20,000 years have revolved, and I return to the place where now I burn. Other stars and none shall rise to the axis of the skies. Stars that soothe and stars that bless with a sweet forgetfulness. Only when my round is o'er shall the past disturb thy door.
Cue up that Fred Hampton interview next. So stick around, listen to a little more music, and then we'll check out an old interview with Fred Hampton from the Black Panthers. Murdered by the pigs, by the way, Fred Hampton.
Fred Hampton, H-A-M-P-T-O-N, Deputy Chairman of the Illinois Panther Party. Camera right, David Hilliard, H-I-L-L-I-A-R-D, Chief of Staff, National Black Panther Party. Gentlemen, what do you think the demonstrations on the first day of the trial accomplished?
I think that they were very educational in the sense that they exposed further the fascist characteristics of the courts in racist America. What happened to Bobby today was very characteristic of Nazi Germany. The judge, Julius J. Hoffman, is the champion of fascism. The man is a mechanical fascist in a robe. He's a lunatic, and he needs to be removed from the court system.
Well, those are words. I mean, specifically, what is it that's bothering you about the judge and what happened in the courtroom?
First of all, the man...
Okay, actually let me state real quick. Clearly, I haven't watched this yet, so I'm watching it for the first time with you, fam. But it's absolutely clear what they're talking about is the Chicago 7 case, right? Chicago 7? Yeah. You know, the Netflix series and stuff and he's talking about Bobby Seale. They gagged him. They gagged Bobby Seale, co-founder of the Black Panther Party, and tied him up and forced him to sit in a courtroom with no legal representation for charges of for things that they had charged these other people with. Anyway, so I'm not going to break down all the specifics of that, but look into the Chicago 7 thing. There's a series on Netflix, and actually there's another sort of dramatization of that thing that went down in the that was made in the 80s. That's on YouTube. They I think we might watch for one of the Sunday afternoon P4P movie fucking watch whatevers. But that's what they're talking about. So this is going on right at the same time while that trial was going on, which is what I wanted to point out, which makes this all that much more fascinating. So maybe I should just shut up and we can check it out.
Fascists, as I mentioned, He's not a man that's capable of rendering any justifiable decisions in anybody's regards. I think he's proved that many times. So we see that the only possible way that Bobby can get a fair trial in any courts, not just in Chicago, is by having a jury of his own peers. And that the only justice would definitely be rendered when the people themselves make decisions in regards of revolutionaries.
Are the Panthers concerned with the other 7 defendants as well as Bobby Seale? You mentioned Seale's name specifically.
Bobby's our leader, and we're most definitely concerned primarily about Bobby. The other 7 defendants were involved in the so-called conspiracy, and we see them as being a very necessary factor in the case. But we're not going to put all of our weight on those individuals. We need our leader. Bobby is the leader not only of the black community, but the man is the leader of the white community too, if those people are talking about moving in a revolutionary fashion. We don't make distinctions between the white and black communities. These people consider themselves revolutionaries, so we say that they will have to react from a revolutionary standpoint of view. We don't support their anarchist strategies that they're so used to exemplifying, but we are concerned about those individuals.
Do you think that there is more that you agree on and disagree on as far as the white, middle-class, radical left and the Panthers?
What do you do with that?
I think that we agree with a lot of things they do, but I couldn't say it was more things than we disagree with, you know. And when you say that, it's hard to say, and I don't even know if I want to say that really, because that's a hard question to answer because it's not specific enough. You know, there's so many groups. You have to get more specific and talk about specific groups and specific people. Because, like he said, there are a lot of people that are anarchists. We don't support that in any group. And I think that's the criteria we should use for judging people. You know, and I think that's the criteria we have to use for judging organizations, you know. That whether or not they, you know, support the ideology of spontaneity or whether they believe in, you know, revolutionary theory, you know, and putting that revolutionary theory into some type of revolutionary practice. And, you know, but some people don't do that. Those people that don't do that, and not saying whether they're more or less, those people that don't do that, we can't support that. We can't support anarchism on the part of blacks, whites, red, yellow, anybody else. And I think that a lot of this, what we call anarchism, you know, I think it's, you know, on the borderline. A lot of it is even past the borderline of being a provocation instigated by some of these pigs. You know.
I think that we should reiterate on your first question. First of all, Bobby, as I stated earlier, is the leader of what people consider a vanguard organization, and that they earned that role not by choice, but through many lives that have been lost as a result of our struggle. So that the other individuals involved in the trial of the conspiracy with Bobby are people that will have to take directions from people that have engaged in struggle and have
oh, hey, Art. Welcome, comrade.
Through their very actions. The very fact that these individuals are involved in the case with our chairman seems to reflect sometimes that critics from individuals sort of a racist attitude, and that the whole trial could be very dangerously damaged if people see it in that light. So we most definitely do not advocate a split to that degree. All we want to do is to make sure that these people get a day in court where they will be judged by a reasonable, sane person and not a lunatic like the judge that he's got. You know?
And that judge was an absolute lunatic.
What you're saying is you expect a conviction.
Racist, fucking hardcore.
I'm saying that I expect a conviction not on the merits of the case, but because the man up there is not capable of giving anybody any justice. I think that the reason he's maintained his position so long is because of his kangarooism, because of his ability to railroad people through the court systems. I see that the whole systems of America is being stockpiled with lunatics and psychopaths, with fascists, all the way down from Attorney General Mercer. And this is what we have to face, and I think it's up to the American public at large. I think that our position in regards to the other individuals in the trial brinks on whether or not they're able to follow decisions handed down by people that are considered as the vanguard, and whether they accept that or not is a matter of fact.
Here we go.
And that one of the criteria that they could use for judging whether or not we're the revolutionary vanguard is extended with the invitation to the Algerian Cultural Festival, whereas only the Black Panther Party was extended invitations out of all the other black organizations in America. So that when these people begin to refuse to follow directions handed down by leaders of the American Revolution, then we see them as being somewhat anarchist.
Well, are you saying that there's a difference in view about tactics, specifically in your relations with the police? In other words, what the radical whites are doing as compared to what the Panthers are doing?
There's a most definite difference. These people oftentimes promote situations where numerous of people are maimed, brutalized, or killed, and we classify this as being criminal. And criminality is something that we definitely are opposed to, and that's why we take our uncompromising position against the police. So when they move in directions like that, they're actually part and part moving with the forces of repression.
Well, would you say that the demonstration today was in any way a provocation to the police or not?
Yes, I think it was definitely a provocation of the police, because, you see, it was made clear through all the people that spoke for the Black Panther Party that we were down there for one thing and one thing only, to show massive support around Chairman Bobby Seale. And if anything, when there were even a chance, when there was even a chance of an outbreak, the party tried to quell this outbreak with its field marshals and the people that was on the microphone at the time that the outbreak occurred. But even with all of the vigilance that the party had displayed, and most of the black people in the crowd, we still had some anarchists, whatever you want to call them, provocateurs, people that tried to overshadow what we were trying to do down there for Chairman Bobby. And even today,
I gotta stop. Fred Hampton did this more than once, where he would refer to people who were into sort of chaos and who were about sowing strife. He would call them anarchists, and I don't take offense to it because the dude was in his 20s, early 20s even. I had he not been murdered by the police and by the American government, then I'm sure he would have come to a much more nuanced and much more detailed and far better fucking understanding and description of what anarchism is. And I just wanted to push back on that a little bit, because I don't feel in any way he's saying that people who believe in, libertarian socialism or anarcho-syndicalism, that he's against them. He just saw people stoking chaos, and he referred to that as anarchist, because in most people's eyes, anarchism is synonymous with chaos. They don't understand that it's actually about socialism and that kind of stuff. So I'm not dissing on Hampton. I just kind of wanted to clarify for our viewers, right? Like what that distinction is and why I don't necessarily hold it against Hampton, because he's one of the most articulate and intelligent fucking revolutionary voices there ever was. And he was murdered in his 20s. In his 20s. It just... So he's allowed to get the nature of what anarchism is wrong. In my book, he's allowed to get that wrong. But anyway, more Fred Hampton.
And I found a situation where people in Babylon are trying to overshadow some of the good that the Black Panther Party is trying to do.
And what he's talking about is, okay, so there's this trial going on in Chicago, right? And what it is, all the popular hippies at the time. I can't even think of... Shan, can you drop some names in the chat? It's the super popular hippie people. Dave Rubin and the other guy, Abby Hoffman, the Chicago Sound. All these people put on trial because of when Mayor Daley unleashed the cops and the fire hoses on all those college kids at the Democratic National Convention and then tried to blame these 7 people for organizing a riot. Same thing cops do to this day, though. Bunch of people come out, march peacefully, cops unleash massive amounts of violence on them, and then go, see, look, they created a riot. And then they went even further and they tried to ruin these 7 people's lives as being the orchestrators, the conspirators of the so-called riot. And Fred Hampton, or not Fred Hampton, but Bobby Seale just happened to be a person that wasn't even a part of the action and the demonstrations organized by Abby Hoffman and others. He gave a speech in Chicago that day, completely separate, got in his car and leave. Gave like a 10-minute speech, came out, gave a speech, got in a car and split, and was not involved with the organization or the demonstration that the others involved in. But they lumped Bobby Seale into the case with them. And then the judge tried to force Bobby Seale to take the judge, or not the judge, but the defense attorney that was representing the other Chicago 7, and Bobby Seale was like, no, I have my own attorney. But his attorney was in the hospital at the time, so couldn't be there. So they totally unconstitutionally said, no, then this other guy's your attorney then. He's like, I don't recognize him as my attorney. And when he tried to then say, fuck it, I'll defend myself, they said, no, the judge said, no, you have this attorney, and bound and gagged him. And meanwhile, Fred Hampton's there. He's actually, when he was able to, he gives advice to fucking Bobby Seale here and there. They're kind of talking, and the judge gets pissed about that. Like, no one's allowed to, Anyway, go check out the series. It's so good. But meanwhile, outside, this is what Hampton is talking about here. Is outside, there's all kinds of protests and demonstrations going on. Free the Chicago 7 and all this stuff, and it could and it can take on a bit of a circus atmosphere out there because there's a lot of people with personal agendas and nefarious agendas at play that want to exploit that. And the leftist movement at that time was it was susceptible to that stuff because it wasn't as experienced. We now live in post-COINTELPRO existence. We know COINTELPRO existed. Then they were like, they knew it was happening to them, right? But it's not like it was there was precedence for it, right? So they were more susceptible to agent provocateurs and things like that in their midst. And I think that's what, and then those agent provocateurs, when they fuck up or they create chaos in a demonstration, then they want to go, they're supporting the Black Panthers and Bobby Seale, so you advocate for what these people did. And he's going, look, man, there's all kinds of different people out there. There's people out there that I do support that are totally in line with us. There's people that believe in what we do, but I don't support what they do. There's agent provocateurs out there who you want to be specific about. This motherfucker in his 20s, man. In his 20s, fam. God. Okay, let's get back to it.
We were supposed to be opening up a free medical center with absolutely free medical care for the people on 16th and Springfield, on the west side of Chicago. And a group of people on the west side of Chicago told us that they didn't want us to open that medical center. A group of young people over there. And they didn't give us any logical reasons that they didn't want us to open the medical center except that this area that the medical center was in, quote unquote, they ran it. This was their turf, And what I'm saying is that there's nothing about the medical center that is not good for the people. And we don't know whether we're going to open it or not, because we're not going to allow anyone to belittle us or to grab us by our revolutionary coattails and drag us down into humbug and gangbang style of
there we go.
Of attacking the problem. We're going to open a health clinic. No matter where we open it, we're going to open it, and we think that the people in that community will force these provocateurs and these idiots to allow the health center to be open in that community because it's going to do nothing but good for the people.
Well, specifically with regard to what's been going on around the federal building and what's likely to happen the rest of the week, and even in the future, as long as the trial goes on, what are going to be the tactics that the Panthers advocate? Are there going to be more demonstrations?
We certainly hope to show massive force. We hope to surmount our numbers daily in the same reflection that you saw with the Huey Newton trials. This is one means for educating the people about the conditions the black people are subjected to within the fascist judiciary system of the United States of America. But I think the high points of what we were talking about could best be summed up by dealing with the criminal situation that we have been subjected to, not just with our coalition with our white counterparts, but more so with the judges, with the people that supposedly run the federal buildings. The federal building is a public facility. We have to obtain permits in order to have people come and witness the terror and the fascism that's being meted out against members of our party. And we're going to stop obtaining permits. The people have a right to be there, and we don't have to beg or ask them to give us approval for checking and seeing how they're passing decisions against our leaders.
What are you suggesting that you're going to do?
We're suggesting that we're going to be there in numbers, whether they like it or not.
Outside the building?
Outside and inside the motherfucker.
You're going to try to go inside the building without passes?
We don't have to have passes to get in there. The building is a public facility. It's supposed to be a building that represents the attitudes and the goodwill of the people. So we're going to make them exemplify that particular area of our Constitution. They cannot lock the doors on us. The people have violated all Bobby's constitutional rights, and we want the masses to be there to judge that situation as it is.
Given the situation as it is, wouldn't this be the kind of provocation that you want to avoid? You say you want to avoid?
We're not going there for any provocation. If people were going to war, I'm most certain that they would have guns and ammunition. We're not coming with any guns. We're coming to watch the so-called authorities of justice carry out their duty. So if there's any acts of provocation, the provocation will come from the pigs, like it always is. They're the ones that start the riots. They're the ones that go around with big long sticks and 357 Magnums whooping people, not the masses. We don't advocate anybody bringing any guns to the federal courthouse, but we do advocate the people assembling there massively to protest their dissatisfaction at the way that they're treating our chairman of the Black Panther Party and the other 7 individuals that's involved in the so-called conspiracy, which is very absurd.
Is that it? Did I stand it just as it was ending? Looks like it. Yeah, it looks like it's just footage now. All right. Murder City Devils fan. This song's called I Want a Lot Now. So come on. And I guess what I can do is queue up some other stuff to look at, right?
What is deconstruction? Derrida himself said it was...
Quiet porn, fam, for your viewing pleasure.
I don't know if I can take it anymore. Turn up the Slade on stereo. I know it's late. I wanna go home. There's no good across the lake from the city. Don't wanna live there anymore. We're taking that car, we'll go to the city, just like last week and the week before. late. I wanna go home. There's no reason to go home. There's no good for slavery city. Don't wanna live there anymore. We'll take power from country city, just like last week and the week before. There's no good this time of city. Don't wanna live there anymore. We'll take a bridge over country city, walk out and kill anymore.
This is 999.
Why, it's Little Red Riding Hood.
Doing Little Red Riding Hood.
Hey there, Little Red Riding Hood. You sure are looking good. You're everything a big bad wolf could want. Listen to me, Little Red Riding Hood. I don't think little big girls should go walking in spooky old woods alone. What big eyes you have, kind of eyes that drive folks mad. So just to see that you don't get chased, I think you ought to walk with me for a ways. What bullets you have, you should have loved someone bad. So until you get to Grandma's place, I think you ought to walk with me and be safe. I'm gonna keep my sheep suit on until I'm sure that you've been shown that I can be trusted. Walking with you alone. Little Red Riding Hood, I'd like to hold you if I could, but you might think I'm a big bad wolf, so I won't. What big heart I have, not bad to love you with. Little Red Riding Hood, even bad wolves can be good. I'll try to keep you satisfied. Just walk close by your side. Maybe you'll see things my way before we get to Grandma's place. Little Red Riding Hood, you sure are looking good. You're everything that a big bad wolf would want.
Oh yeah, that's right. Naked eyes. Always something there to remind me.
I walk along the city streets you used to walk along with me. And every step I take reminds me of just how we used to be. Well, how can I forget you, girl? And there is always something there to remind me. Always something there to remind me. Shadows fall, I pass a small cafe where we would dance at night. And I can't help recalling
thing that played in the goth clubs when I was a kid, when I was in high school and early 20s and stuff. Yeah, it's Euro synth pop or whatever, but all the different goth clubs I went to in Nevada and Southern California always played this and the other one, Promises, Promises.
There is always something there to remind me. 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 Always something there to
Blondie with Denise.
When we walk, it always feels so nice. And when we talk,
go to the devil, despite what Dennis Prager thinks.
Oh, shoot. To talk about the cuckoo bird. Mellow greetings, everybody. My name is James. I'm from the internet. And today we are going to talk about the cuckoo bird crazy pants March for Trump this weekend in Washington, D.C. It was part activism, part rally, part protest march, part Coachella, part Kenneth Copeland on meth, part rabble-rousing riot. It was utter cuckoo bird crazy pants. I spent the entire weekend watching it. I'm totally not going to lie. I spent like 9 hours watching it on Saturday, and then I spent all day Sunday watching like the compressed highlight clips of it. I laughed. I cried. It was the feel-good movie of the winter. I cannot tell you how amazing it was. Oh, wait, yes, I can. That's literally my job. That's what I'm here to do today. So, I am going to take all of the crazy pants that happened. And it was a lot of crazy pants. And I'm going to try to take it and go and compress it all down into like 10 minutes or so. Okay, we'll see how this works. So, the entire thing kicked off on Saturday, early, with the first event, which was the March for Jericho, which was a, religious throwback. Right. And they had a whole bunch of conservative speakers who were also of the Christian ilk, shall we say, who are Trump supporters. And, well, this is how it started.
My name is Father Greg Bramlage. I'm a Catholic priest of 25 years. I specialize in exorcism and deliverance.
Of course you do. They kicked off the entire weekend Trumpapalooza festival with an exorcist. Just in case you were wondering how this whole event was going to go, that's how it started.
Come now and repulse the attacks and deceits of our wicked enemies. Render them impotent and helpless. Let God arise. Let his enemies be scattered, and all those who hate him flee before him.
This went on for about 3 minutes, but blah, 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 Jesus, blah, 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 God, blah, 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 anointed, blah, 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 chosen one, blah, 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 we shall overcome. So up next was the leader of the Oath Keepers. They are a specialty militia made up of former police and military who have decided that they will still work to fulfill their oath to defend the Constitution, even though they're no longer in the job where they swore to do it. Supposedly, they have about 30,000 members nationwide, all of whom have hundreds of hours of range time.
And all of us veterans who swore that oath, until you're age 65, you can be called up as the militia to support and defend the Constitution. He needs to know from you that you are with him, that he does not do it now while he is commander-in-chief. We're going to have to do it ourselves later in a much more desperate, much more bloody war. Let's get it on now while he is still the commander-in-chief.
Okay, I'm gonna let James take this, but I gotta point out that being called up as the militia, I did a whole series on this, fam. I suggest you watch it. It's called A People's History of America, and it gets into what the militia really was. Now, prior to the Civil War, prior to the signing of the 13th Amendment, which features the exception clause, which allows for slavery, okay? But prior to that, it was enshrined in the Constitution in the Second Amendment, a mechanism by which if the people that had been stolen from Africa escaped their enforced slavery, we needed to be able to call people up to go capture them. And we needed to make sure that they had a legal access to a firearm so that they could be effective when they were called up to go capture the person that escaped their bonds of forced slavery. They're called slave patrols, or they were called militias. These two terms were synonymous at the time of the framing of the Constitution. What this motherfucker, the head of the Oath Keepers that was just talking about, is not what the militia was about. An argument can be made that their militia, in a way, is sort of inadvertently more in keeping with the original methods of the militia, because really what they're doing is they're maintaining white supremacy. They think they're rebelling against, tyranny, and that they're these huge, fighters for freedom. But literally, if you take their project to its logical extension, to its logical end, they're a hardcore fucking defense of the capitalist, imperialist, white supremacist status quo. Now, I'll let James get on back to what he's got going on here.
Woo! All right, bloody Civil War right after the prayers. What else you got? March for Jericho Christian Trump rally. What else you got in there?
Tomorrow at 11 o'clock. Please come back. If you're tired of the political craziness and you want them to stop canceling Christmas, Thanksgiving, and everything that we do that we love, then come tomorrow, because we're going to have a Keep Christmas rally with Mike Lindell, several members of Congress. It's going to be awesome. Be here 11 o'clock.
Did you say Mike Lindell is going to be here?
Mike Lindell will be here.
And he's going to tell them to use the code ERIC. Don't forget. Go to mypillow.com. Kimberly, this event tomorrow, you're going to be serving brunch? What's the story?
No brunch, sorry guys.
I can't make it.
We will have Porta John, put plenty of toilet paper though.
So, real quick, it seems that Mike Lindell, the MyPillow dude, he footed the bill for most of the rallies this weekend in D.C. He was like the co-sponsor. So everywhere you went, there were plugs for Mike Lindell. It started here at the Jesus for Trump rally, and then it continued into the larger Steal the Vote rally. Hang on.
And a special thank you to the co-sponsor that really helped fund a lot of this, Mr. MyPillow himself, Mike Lindell. Amazing patriot, loves his country, loves us, loves the president, and the president loves him. And I gotta tell you, I love his codes, right? I love his pillows, I love his sheets, I love his mattress topper, and I love his codes, because you know what? The Kraken has been released.
Oh.
You are part of the Kraken.
Is that what the Kraken is now?
For the best deals to support this patriot, use the code Kraken at mypillow.com. We got to show him some love. He doesn't talk about a lot of the hell that he goes through behind the scenes, friends, but he goes through a lot of hell for us.
Right. He goes through
So
hell
it turns
being a
out
rich ass
the entire
motherfucker.
weekend is just a giant commercial for My Pillow. By the way, make sure to use the code Kraken when you go on to mypillow.com. I wish I could say I made this up, but I didn't. Okay, come on, Pillow Guy. What do you got?
Why do you think Fox declared Arizona with only 14% of the vote in? They already knew what they did. They were in on it. You know, I'm serious. They had to be in on it. You don't know this stuff. I mean, all this stuff, and you know what? It's not just the ones behind this that are going to end up, you know, being spot, and they should all go to prison when they are found out. But how about the Republicans out there that didn't back this great president and us as a people? We voted him in.
So the My Pillow guy just threw a 2-day rally in D.C. in honor of Trump and then shit on Fox News and said that Fox News is in on it. Fox News is coming to get Trump. Uh-oh. Oh, you better look out, Fox News. You now have Mike Lindell as an enemy. I wonder what that's going to look like. Oh, wait. This is what it looked like. It looked like him coming off stage and then giving an interview to Fox News.
I apologize to our viewers that are upset we were talking during the national anthem. This is live television indeed. Let me ask you, though, we believe the president...
The Mike Lindell interview was more important than paying homage during one of the great American songs. That's some peak Fox News shit right there. To go with the peak Mike Lindell shit of giving Fox News an interview while the national anthem's playing 30 seconds after saying that Fox News was in on the election fix at the Trump rally that he paid for.
The president may pass by, and obviously on the heels of the disappointing Supreme Court, just in 10 seconds, could you sum up where we go from here? What's the final message?
My final message is everybody keep the faith, because we're in the greatest revival in history, and this is an anomaly. And when we get through it, we're going to look back and say this all had to happen the way God's intended it to, and it'll all be okay. I just want everybody in the country to have faith.
What a Fantasyland fucking bullshit notion that is.
It'll all be a blessing when it's all over.
All right, it's all going to be a blessing, dude.
At this point, President Donald Trump in the Marine One helicopter decided to do a bunch of lazy loops directly over the protest while Trump's like sitting in the helicopter waving. It's tremendous. Look, it's like 4,000 people. Hello, peasants. You look as small as I think you are from here. Hello.
There's our president. And this, by the way, if you can look up here, Leland, the president flying by on Marine One at this very moment. And obviously,
there's our president.
Insert Pinochet meme here.
Right.
What else you got, crazy unhinged Trump rally? So they had to have a little musical intermission, and of course, they found the black patriotic hip-hop group to come out and, you know, show that the African-American community is down with MAGA. I'm going to play a little snippet of this. Before I do, however, somebody pointed out to me today that in the middle of the rap group on stage is fucking Mike from All Gas No Brakes. I have no idea how the hell he did it, but he somehow managed to get on stage during this performance and just ended up standing there holding a microphone.
Oh, fucking great.
If you don't know who All Gas No Brakes are and you're watching my video, there's a problem.
Right? Yeah, there he is.
Tell Justin Smollett that I know this MAGA country. Tell how we know they trying to play us like some dummies. I looked deep into it and I did the math. Why did Obama send money to that Wuhan
Oh,
lab?
the music
What is
stopped.
George Soros doing with
I'll just go with
all
it.
of his cash?
Obama sent money to that Wuhan lab.
Why is there so much propaganda? Funny you ask. How about that Bill Gates vaccine? Sorry, I'll pass. Gun-toting patriot, God-fearing.
You just bounce like there's still music.
Gun-toting Bible. The cage, cause he innocent. Martin Roger Stone, cause the world know that he innocent. We need to kick out every single illegal immigrant. Mandatory voter ID laws. We need
Don't say illegal, man. People
Okay,
ain't
gift
illegal.
that keeps on giving. What else you got?
We repent for all the blood sacrifice that has been poured out in this nation, Lord. We repent for abortion,
public prayer.
Lord God, the sacrifices to fail. We
Something the
exalt you,
Bible's
Lord.
really
On the count of
adamant
three,
you
count.
shouldn't do.
Jesus.
Over and over.
1, 2, 3. Jesus.
I'm sorry? Oh, okay. So apparently we're now going to be showing the QAnon video to all of the rally goers because, of course, it seems totally normal to play a QAnon video on a full screen in the middle of the street paid for by Mike Lindell, the My Pillow guy, to remind America that the election was stolen.
But whether our government is controlled by the people.
It's fucking sad, man.
For too long, a small group in our nation's capital has reaped the rewards of government while the people have borne the cost.
You gotta love the dumpster fire, man.
So, that was pretty much the highlights. It all went much, much further downhill from there. Let's kick it off with the Proud Boys.
Yes,
That's right. They're proud. They're boys. They're the Proud Boys. And oh, they have a message for all you leftists. That's right. Fuck Antifa. Look, they literally wrote it on their asses.
They wrote it on their own butts. Wow. SoCal Shannon and I were discussing this yesterday of wow. Never in my life have I thought, man, I really hate this person. I'm going to go write their name on my butt. I'm going to write their name on my butt, dude. I'm going to write fuck them on my butt. Like never have I come even remotely close to ever having a thought that resembled that. And then let alone getting together with my friends and saying, hey, you know these people, hey, punk rock friends, you know the guys we hate, man, let's all write their name on our butt and say fuck them on our butts, and then we'll go and we'll show that. Never, that's not a thing ever. It's so wildly like, it's like it's fucking total unaddressed homosexual tendencies, which is totally great other than the unaddressed part, you know, like be who you're going to be, you know? But I'm sorry, man, writing fuck people I don't like on my butt, on your butt is a really homoerotic thing to do. And also, like I've said it a number of times that like, not all of them, but a lot of these guys, the reason they're so pissed off is because they really fucking want to be us. Not necessarily like they don't want to be Reverend Aaron or MR Red or SoCal Shannon, but they want to be a part of our thing. Like they perceive us as sort of the cool kids in high school or whatever that they were never cool enough to actually hang out with, so they just beat them up. So they, you know, punched me in the head, in the back of the head, and called me fag. Because deep down they actually fucking thought that what I was doing was cool and didn't know how to express it, and it was tied up in a bunch of probably like unaddressed homosexual tendencies. They may not even be at all homosexual. They may be truly cishet, but they haven't addressed their sexuality or any of that stuff in any way, so it's all fucked up and confused. And so they see someone who's like, look, punk rockers were always on the cutting edge of arts and culture, and so they see someone like us and they're like, that's kind of cool, and I don't want to fuck him, I'm not gay, and then they beat you up. But deep down inside, they're jealous of us. Going out and writing your opponent or your enemy's name on your butt, I'm sorry, if you write anyone's name on your butt, you're got a fascination with that person that you're probably not really examining very close. So I'm down for kilts and shit. Black and yellow kilts, libertarian colors, no. But I'm part Scottish. I'm also Latinx, but I also celebrate my Scottish heritage. I go to Robert Burns dinners and stuff like that, and I love Scottish Celtic music and stuff. And I have kilts, and I have but like, don't do that, guys. Okay. Anyway, we'll just go back to James over here. Thank you for indulging me, but like, that's just also so weird to me.
I don't think writing fuck somebody on your ass and then showing it to everybody, I don't think that's really representing your message. I think that might get a little confused, but okay, sure. That's right, the street rallies started, all the marches. And the later it got in the day, the worse it got, the more violent it got.
That's right.
The Proud Boys were everywhere. You can't miss them. They're wearing yellow kilts with magic marker letters written on their ass cheeks. Fun side note, the company that manufactures those kilts saw all the videos on Twitter.
Check it out.
And immediately donated $1,000 to the NAACP after they tallied it up and figured out the Proud Boys had spent $750 on their kilts. So,
that's fantastic.
Unfortunately, that was the only uplifting part of the story having to do with the Proud Boys. Shortly thereafter, a pack of Proud Boys came upon a couple walking in D.C. who had nothing to do with the march. We're not wearing Biden t-shirts. We're not screaming at them.
This is gnarly.
And they beat the shit out of the couple.
People getting fed up with people. Oh man,
This
they're
is
getting
people
beat up.
walking by.
They're getting beat up.
Look at this. It really gets more graphic than that,
for any of us who have ever attended one of these rallies,
people.
we're kind of used to seeing this sort of thing. Usually you don't see it because Ben Shapiro and Charlie Kirk and Dave Rubin and Tim Pool and all the rest of them only share the shit out of these videos when it suits and matches their ideological purpose, okay? I'm going to go out on a limb here and tell you that there are people who commit acts of violence, quote, on both sides. Yes, it's a thing. It's what human beings do. And it's especially what happens in tribalism. People form together, they make groups, the groups get larger, they form tribes, tribes find opposing tribes, and then two large masses of people go. It's been happening for tens of thousands of years. This is nothing new. We just have better names for the teams now and cameras to record the action, okay? But this is what happens when you're an extremist in a tribe. You go out and you commit acts of violence on people. Then, of course, like the good brown shirts they are, they started stopping random citizens driving down the road, demanding to see their papers. And by see their papers, I mean demand to know what political organization they belong to and how they voted to decide whether or not they're going to drag you out of your car and beat the shit out of you at an intersection because you just happen to be driving.
You see Foxy back there, didn't you? You piece of shit!
Look, there's no Biden sticker on the car. Oh no, they decided they were libs because they were wearing a mask. There you go, that's right. We are now getting towards the very end of the death spiral. And this is where the people on the fringes of the movement are really going to start acting out. They're going to start flailing uncontrollably because they have no idea what to do with themselves, okay? The fabric of their very reality is crumbling around them. People are on edge as it is. This is only going to make matters worse. So stay tight. Stay with the people you know. Stay indoors as much as you can. Wear a mask. Try to avoid all this cray-cray. And hopefully, at some point, the majority of these people will slink back into their holes, and the few remaining extremists will be standing on sidewalks by themselves instead of with thousands of people. My name is James. I'm from the internet, and I am out. Peace.
Thank you, James from the internet. So I have Riot Porn queued up. I'm also going to put this on. You're going to appreciate this, Art. This is Lethal Gospel, Martian Whores. Title track from the album, Martian Whores. See all that artwork? That was all done by my good buddy Dave Cherry. He plays sax on this album. Lethal Gospel, fam.
In the street.
What is deconstruction?
That's the same sax you'll hear in every Convulsionaires track, too. I am incredibly proud to say.
The invading organisms look almost identical to human men and women, but appear to be sexually neither. They are a third sex, not a cross between the two, and in order to mate, they need both of you. Referring to the phenomenon as trisexuality, they behave like viruses in that they don't come to life until it becomes absolutely necessary, and they're able to duplicate only by injecting their aggressive chromosomes into the host organism, thus overpowering and transforming the human male or female into one of the trisexual versions, who in turn convert many others. They can turn any part of their bodies into sex organs, so be careful. Limit your sexual contacts to earth creatures only, like I just did, or Thorny did.
Violent Femmes, Gone, Daddy Gone.
Beautiful girl, love your dress, high school smiles, oh yes. Beautiful girl, love your dress, where she is now I can only guess, 'cause it's gone, daddy gone, love is gone, it's gone, daddy gone, love is gone, it's gone, daddy gone, love is gone, it's gone, daddy gone, love is gone away.
And I got a couple short videos queued up. It's like a part 1, part 2. They're both about 2 minutes long. And it's about deconstruction and Derridism. That's the last little thing we'll talk about, and I think you guys will find it fascinating, but that'll be the last thing we talk about. Take a look at those videos. But enjoy Violent Femmes. And I got those queued up, and we'll check them out after this track. Okay, fam, what I have queued up is 2 very short videos, like I said. They're both like 2 minutes long. And it's from Verso Books is the name of the YouTube channel, VERSO Books. It's a publishing house, but they also have a YouTube channel. And I saw the full video they put out of this, I think it was 2 days ago. It's like a half-hour video, and I loved it. And the reason I'm really fascinated with Derrida, so he's a philosopher. Where are you, Jacques? All right, Jacques Derrida. I have one book by Jacques Derrida, and then some other stuff in like some anthologies. But let's see, he 1930 to 2004. And the reason I got into Derrida is because a philosophy teacher, professor, friend of mine, I was explaining like the process by which I realized something was corrupt. And she's like, oh, you're a Derridist. I'm like, what is that? And so she told me who Derrida was, and I went out and bought this. And I've read a number of the pages. Let's see, I've got about page 30. And I have absolutely no fucking idea what I read. And a lot of people read Derrida and have a hard time understanding what he's talking about. But I have still really wanted to understand him because I really, really respected this friend of mine who compared me to Derrida, and I talked to her since, and she explained in more detail, and it really did hit home that I had really found a methodology that like gets described as deconstruction, even though, as you'll hear in the video, Derrida hated that. But I just kind of wanted to give you a little that introduction as to why I would even be interested in Derrida and who's Derrida and why do I give a fuck about him. And 2, because this concept, for lack of a better title, of deconstruction, to me goes sort of hand in hand with dialectical materialism, with material analysis, with the socialist critique. Derrida, I think, takes it to another level almost, which I think is really useful to us. And again, so even though I've said he's really hard to understand when you read him, and it's really hard to, and trust me, all kinds of philosophers and teachers will tell you, I am not alone in having a really hard time understanding what he's really trying to get at. But I thought this would be useful to leftists and kind of fun to check out. And again, it's very short, but it's nowhere near as intimidating or complex as his actual fucking writings are. So with no further whatever, let's check this out from Verso Books. Like I said, it's 2 short videos. So this first one is called Derrida and Deconstruction by Peter Salmon. That's the person who's going to do the presentation. And then the second video we're going to watch is Derrida, the father of post-truth. And the reason I wanted to do both of these, here's the cool thing, fam, is that these were the 2 short clips of the longer video that I watched that were the nectar, the 2 things that really stood out most that I thought were really good. And I thought, man, that'd be fun to play on stream, but I don't want to go through this 30-minute video. And what do you know? They clipped 2 fucking videos from that longer one, and they're the 2 fucking anyway. So this is the first one. But the reason I think post-truth it will be fun is because it gets to the right-wing talking point trope about leftism, about how Marx, cultural Marxism is also, postmodernist and all this garbage. It's bullshit. It's a lie. And these similar accusations were leveled against Derrida. And so looking at the way he interacted with this notion of being accused of being post-truth, I think is helpful to us in our socialist leftist project. So let's check it out. Verso Books, Peter Salmon, Derrida, and Deconstruction.
What is deconstruction? Derrida himself said it was an ugly word, but one that he was stuck with, and it was associated most with his name. At its most basic sense, deconstruction simply says that something that is constructed can be deconstructed, can be taken apart. Now that might be an object in the world, a chair, a table, a car, any of those things, or it might be a concept such as God, or such as truth. For Derrida, this did not mean you were destroying the thing. Deconstruction is not destruction. The thing still is there after you've done the process. However, it is to look at the things that have constructed that thing. To take a word like God, Derrida here follows Wittgenstein, who said that to see what a word means, look at how it's used. So we can look at the history of religion, we can look at the history of atheism, we can look at all of these things to deconstruct something like God. Now, Derrida remains agnostic on whether these concepts actually exist. So truth, for instance, whether truth exists or not, is not the question that deconstruction attempts to answer. Rather, it attempts to see how it's been constructed, why it was constructed, who constructed it, and for what reasons.
Right, exactly.
So when you do an act of deconstruction, you are looking at the ways the word has been built up, the way the concept has been built up. The other thing Derrida noted was that deconstruction does not happen from the outside. Deconstruction happens within a context, within a text. So any text, for instance, cannot be completely coherent and whole in itself. It will keep bearing the scars of its construction. And these are the scars that you look for when you're taking apart a text, the places where there's a contradiction, where there's a gap, where a word is being used in a different way by the same author over the course of a paragraph, a word, a text. Now, we're quite used to doing this in normal life. If there was now a glitch in this video, you would assume that I'd said something wrong, that I'd started again, any of those things. You would look for the way that this video has been constructed. The job of the person taking this video is to smooth over those things, to make them disappear, to end up with a coherent text. However, we know that what has happened is something has been constructed and can therefore be deconstructed.
There you go. So that's like, very quickly, everything that we can look at it and try to understand the context in which it was presented. What are the preconceived biases of the person who constructed it or is articulating it? All of these things can be dissected on their face and on their merits and find out where they're coming from and understand, rather than just taking at face value that things just fall out of a vacuum and all of a sudden there's this thing that exists. No. And I think the importance of him saying, like, it's within the writings as well, is I assert this often on the show, that, like, you don't have to have someone debunk a thing for you. And you don't even necessarily have to be an expert on an issue to be able to debunk something you've heard on your own. If you have some basic skills that are basically critical thinking skills, and if you can understand, like, that basic notion that Derrida asserted, that everything has its own construction, everything has its foundation, and then the blocks that are built on top of it that make the larger mass. And you should be able to look at whatever it is, anything in life, and go, okay, what's its source? What's this thing built on? What's this notion built on? And why? And why is it built on that? What led to that? It can get very, very complex, but the more you start to deconstruct things in this way in life, the quicker and easier that process becomes. You start recognizing patterns and you don't have to spend time on it as much. But it is possible, without being an expert on everything, if you can have a base understanding of things and a base and become experienced and adept at recognizing the base construction of ideas, of art, of political constructs, societal constructs, then you can better come to understand why it's there, whether you should support it or not, be in alignment with it or opposed to it, and why. Right? Anyway, let's get over here to the next one. Pop right on over to it.
In popular culture today, Derrida often comes up in two different ways. One is a kind of code word for complexity. He wrote in a deliberately complex style because his thoughts needed it. So someone can say, it's all gone a bit Derrida, or you're being very Derrida about it. The other way is when he's accused of being the father of post-truth. So is he the father of post-truth? Derrida was always at pains to point out that he was not a relativist thinker. To say that truth could be deconstructed is not to say truth does not exist. In fact, he was trying to get very close to how we live our normal lives. We all do this. We all have different registers of truth that we deal with. For instance, if I'm doing quadratic equations, I have one criteria of truth. If I then read a poem, I have a different one. It would be absurd for me to take the criteria of truth I use for quadratic equations and apply it to poetry, or to talking to a friend, or to philosophy, all of these things. Derrida was specifically talking about truth in philosophy, at least initially, that it was a constructed thing. Whether it existed or not, he did not know, in the same way that we don't know whether God exists, and yet religion exists. Truth, therefore, generates philosophy, but we cannot tie it down, we cannot nail it. To take the notorious example when post-truth was born, in a sense, the inauguration of Donald Trump, the alternative facts, what was being appealed to there when they were saying there were more at the inauguration than at Obama's was mathematics. Now, mathematics is a system which has a system of truths. If the people arguing there were more people there wanted to say that mathematics is wrong, we need to start all over again, then they were free to do so. However, simply to say that there were more people is untrue. And Derrida would have acknowledged that, the same as Derrida would have acknowledged that if there's water pouring out of the sky, then you'll get wet if you go outside. In no sense does he say truth is relative, rather it's constructed and there's different registers and systems.
There you go, fam. So that is Peter Salmon, author of An Event Perhaps, a biography of Jacques Derrida. But again, I think, what I appreciate about that is in his attempts, I guess, at least the way I understand it, at deconstruction, is it's a methodical way with which to disprove a lot of stuff that's probably needs disproving. Well, it needs disproving because clearly if you can disprove it, it's not true. So, and if you start to apply this methodology, as well as a material, dialectical material analysis, you're going to find that a lot of the core institutions that comprise culture, our culture, in 2020, and that comprise modern culture, are built on faulty foundations. That doesn't mean then that there's no truth in the universe. It just means a lot of the things that we take for granted as being like truth maybe isn't. It doesn't mean that there isn't an alternative to it that is true. To say that Columbus discovered America is not true. But that doesn't mean there is a truth about Columbus. He was lost and stumbled on a place that was already inhabited. That's not a post-truth notion, right? So debunking something, but these are the criticisms that will be that were leveled against Derrida. You're just trying to say that there's no truth in the world. It's just like, no, I want to know if the things we take for granted is true, if they are. And Marxists and socialists and anarchists, communists get accused of this also. The far right, PragerU, has made a cottage industry out of labeling us as cultural Marxists and postmodernists, which are not the same thing. They're not synonymous, and they're not. They can't cohabitate, as it were. To be able to say that capitalism is a failed project and wreaks havoc and destruction across the world, and that it's very, very hard. I assert this, and this may even be a minority assertion, but I assert that it's very, very hard to advance philosophically as a species. It's hard. It's very difficult for us to advance the philosophical tradition when anything and everything we do has to have profit attached to it. Otherwise, it's not encouraged or facilitated, right? We can only advance philosophy insofar as it facilitates the capitalist imperialist status quo. That's not to say that philosophy has hit a dead end. It's not to say that Marxists and anarchists and Kropotkin and Malatesta that were the end of philosophy now, and then Derrida came along, deconstructed everything, and there's nowhere else to go. It's just that we hit a wall, fam. Capitalism has got us stopped in our tracks, and that's what these notions of gay space communism, luxury gay space communism post-capitalism, right? Because once we get this stumbling block of capitalism that has to monetize everything, that has to make sure that there's profit attached to it, otherwise it not only doesn't encourage it, it tries to stomp it out. Once we get that out of the way, that's stifling our ability. Earlier in the stream, I played that PragerU video. He was talking about how leftists want to destroy art. and want to destroy these things. No, man, we want to see it be allowed to finally flourish. Instead, the most vapid of art is encouraged and bolstered in our culture today, as opposed to the deepest art that really, really explores the human condition. That shit's suppressed for the most part. Anyway, fam, I think I kind of rambled on enough about it, and yeah, we're right about where I wanted to be in terms of length. We went a little over 3 hours, about 3 hours and 15 minutes, but I also let the intro coming soon, get ready, stay tuned, we're about to start thing run for about 10 minutes. So yeah, it's roughly a 3-hour stream. Much love to y'all in the chat. Shan, Art, MR Red, Happy Slave, and gosh, everybody in here. Sorry, I'm totally. I always FJM Radio. I always forget that name too. I'm so bad with remembering fucking people's names. Anyway, I just appreciate y'all being here, and listen, much love, thanks, and appreciation to anybody and everybody who does whatever they can, whenever they can, to get out and make life just a little bit easier for other people, man, because it makes a difference and it matters. And anyway, much love to you, fam. I'm Reverend Aaron. It's Punks for Progress. This has been the What the Fuck Report. Most likely see you tomorrow. Oh, come on. This isn't what was supposed to happen. This is.
Hi, neighbor. Welcome again to this neighborhood. I'd like to show you something. You know what this is? Maybe if I press this button. This is a cassette player with a little cassette in here, and there's nothing written on it, so we'll just have to play it to see what it is. Do you ever imagine things? Are they scary things? Are they scary things? Do you ever imagine things? Things you'd like to have? Did you ever see a cat's eyes in the dark and wonder what they were? Did you ever pretend about things like that before? Did you ever grow anything in the garden of your mind? You can grow ideas in the garden of your mind. It's good to be curious about many things. You can think about things and make believe. All you have to do is think and they'll grow. Imagine every person that you see is somewhat different from every other person in the world. Some can do some things, some can do others. Did you ever think of the many things you've learned to do? Many things you've learned. Did you ever grow anything in the garden of your mind? You can grow ideas in the garden of your mind. It's good to be curious about many things. You can think about things and make believe. All you have to do is think and they'll grow. Did you feel like going like that? Let's give the fish some food. Mr. McFeely, I didn't order any whistle. That's what they call a slide whistle. Did you feel like going like that? There are so many things to learn about in this world, and so many people who can help us learn. Did you ever grow anything in the garden of your mind? You can grow ideas in the garden of your mind. It's good to be curious about many things. You can think about things and make believe. All you have to do is think. You can think about things and make believe. All you have to do is think, and they'll grow.
Much love to you, fam. We'll see you next time.